very near and dear to my heart. The reason is, if I've read a chapter of the Bible more than I've read another, it's this chapter. This chapter is the one that a lot of times folks find themselves confounded. They get confused and they honestly in a lot of cases feel like I don't even want to read another chapter of the book. I don't want to read another word of the book of Revelation. And this is a sad fact, and here's why. Every single word, the way that Jesus says it, is every jot and tittle of the Bible is there for a reason. There's a lot of meaning behind it. Yes, there's some symbolism and things, and I believe prophecy, when it's given to man, that the reason the symbolism is there is to give some type of high-level context to the individual that's receiving it. And when it comes to an image, and we see these images of the beasts and all of this, and when it comes to these images, like I said last week, Daniel 7, 8, 9, all the way through the end of the book, there's explanations to every part of this. And it's not a private interpretation per se. Gabriel, the angel, explained it at the command of Jesus. It says, explain to the man about what is going on, what this means. And then Gabriel says, listen, son of man, this is what this means. And so the Bible defines the Bible. And the Bible, which means the Bible explains the Bible. So that you don't have to come in with some George Orwell, book and say, well, this must be what the Bible means. You don't go to a Steven Spielberg movie or a Stephen King novel to get your answers for the Bible. You just come to the Bible. Right. And so Revelation 13 is what I see as the pulse of our time, to show us just how close to the rapture we must be. And here's why. As we travel through this chapter and look at some of the things that are going on in the chapter, you'll see that it is very realistic that we would see that within our lifetime, because the conditions are set up to be played out the way that we see the world. It couldn't have happened in Daniel's time because the conditions weren't set up to be able to happen that way. It couldn't have happened in the 1900s because the conditions weren't right for these things to play out. Think about it this way. In the year 1900, we were still traveling this earth the same way we did 1,000 years before that. Horse and buggy. 1,000 years before that, we were still traveling around by horses. It has not been since the year 1900 that modern advances have happened at such a fast scale that it is so hard for us as Americans in 2025 to fathom how they did it. But really, it's only been in the last 125 years that we've seen the advances that are spoken about in the book of Revelation and even in the rest of the Bible of the end times. There are certain dynamics at play that have happened in the geopolitical side of things. And by that I mean how this country has been at it with this country. How many know that Iran and Israel are perpetual enemies? All the way back to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. It's just been a perpetual thing. because that's where the separation started coming. It wasn't until well after Jesus, it was about 300 AD, after Jesus had ascended to the right hand of God the Father, that Islam even came about. But the battles were happening before that. How many remember Goliath? Goliath was a Palestinian, a Philistine, the forefathers of the Palestinians. So this is not a new thing that the Middle East would be fighting against each other. The dynamics of the situation now are so different that we can see an Ezekiel 38 battle coming together, which I can show you that at some time, and that Zechariah 12 prophecy where Israel becomes a burdensome stone, that everybody that tries to handle Israel gets bashed and bruised. Israel was mighty during the time that Joshua and Moses were in command of Israel. And they were even mighty even after that during the time of the kings. But it wasn't until here recently that Israel could attack anybody on the planet at any given time, within minutes. They say it's about 15 minutes for an intercontinental ballistic missile, an ICBM, to travel from Russia to the United States. About 15 minutes. It's 11 minutes max for a missile from Venezuela to hit the United States. 8 minutes at the least, or at the quickest. That's pretty fast. Israel can match anything else that anybody has. So they can literally strike anywhere on the globe at their will, whenever they want. They've never been that powerful, except for now. Revelation 13, verse 1. And I stood upon the sand of the sea and saw a beast rise up out of the sea, having 7 heads and 10 horns, and upon his horns 10 crowns, and upon his heads the name of blasphemy. We've talked about different beasts. We've talked about the sea. The sea is many a people, so the beast comes out of the people. The beast is a governing body, a system, if you will. That's the beast. All beasts are governing systems. And these governing systems have different heads. Those different heads are in my understanding, the 7 heads are 7 continents. We've talked about this. And then you look at how many horns, 10 horns. Those horns are particular rulers, and the 10 crowns upon their heads are the authorities that those crowns have. Okay? The authorities that those horns have, that those rulers have. And here we have upon his heads, that's all the heads, the name of blasphemy. And the beast which I saw was like unto a leopard, and his feet were as the feet of a bear, and his mouth as the feet of a lion, or a mouth of a lion. And the dragon gave him his power. Who's the dragon? The devil. That old serpent called the devil. That's from the previous chapter. And his seat, so the devil gives him his power. The devil gives him his seat and great authority. So this system, this governing system that at this point controls the entire world, and all the rulers of the world are governed and controlled by Satan, which we already cleared. He has the authority, governing authority over the world. That's why the world can be in the condition that the world is in. So this beast, this governing system, controlled, puppeteered by the devil, has all the authority. So you automatically right now don't even have to think about the heads, the beast, just think governing authority controlled by the devil. You got me? And the beast which I saw was like unto a leopard. Forget all of that. Don't even think about that. It's important, because it distinguishes the different countries and what have you that make up the beast. But I want you to understand that it all controls the world. That's it, the entire thing. As right now, that's all you need to know. Verse 3, and I saw one of his heads as it were wounded to death, and his deadly wound was healed, and all the world wandered after the beast. One of the ruling leaders was wounded. And later we find out how. But spoiler alert, it was an attack. It wasn't like he just fainted one day and hit his head on something. It was an attack that wounded him as if he was dead. Okay? That's important. So one of the rulers was wounded in a way after an attack, or during an attack, that was like he was dead. And his deadly wound, how do you know it was deadly? Because the Bible says so. So wounded to death. And his deadly wound was healed. And all the world wandered after the beast. So, and they worship the dragon which gave power unto the beast. So they are cognizant, which means aware, that Satan controls the system. Okay? And they worship the beast, saying, who is like unto the beast? Who is able to make war with him? So this beast has authority, has power, has influence, but also is a threat unto whoever would come against them. One system, one governing body, made up of these different countries. All of them have all authority on the world. It is evident who gives them their power. Bless you. It is evident who gives the power to the system. One of those leaders, key leaders, is killed and is somehow raised from the dead. May not be killed literally, may be pretty much killed, looks killed, must have, but somehow a deadly wound is evident, and they were able to live. Yes?
When you talk about they knew that the leaders were basically controlled by Satan.
Mm-hmm.
Who's they? Does everybody know it, or just the leaders?
In the way that I understand it, to me, it looks evident that the world would be aware that there is a demonic influence. But let me put it this way. Even if they didn't say the word demonic, they would know that it was a spiritual influence. And the difference between anything other than God and God is truth. God is love. God is just. Any spirit on this planet or in the atmosphere that is not in alignment with those characteristics is not God and cannot be God. So if it's not God, it has to be evil. What the problem with the world is that we have a bad time distinguishing between the serpent and the truth. Think about the garden, which is the overall narrative to the entire Bible. Man was in paradise. Man fell from paradise. We were influenced, but we fell from paradise. It's us. We sinned. We can't blame that on the devil. We sinned because I can't chew something with Eric's mouth. I have to chew it with my mouth. And if I chew what I'm not supposed to chew, then I can't blame Eric for handing it to me. You got me? So we make a conscious decision to enter into sin. Now our children pay for it because they're born into sin. I can't blame Adam. I can't blame Eve. I was born into sin. That said, we have a hard time distinguishing good from evil sometimes, especially when we're not in alignment with the good. So if I'm not in alignment with God, I'm ignorant to the truth, one way or the other. So I'm ipso facto choosing the darkness. Right? We have a decision to make. Choose Jesus Christ and live for eternally in heaven with Him, or not choose Christ, which is a decision, and I choose the world. I pick me over the world. I went around my elbow, but the reason I did that is for this. Even if they don't know it's the dragon, they're worshiping whatever's given this beast power, and they're not worshiping God. So, even out of ignorance, if I'm doing the wrong thing, I'm still doing the wrong thing. The child raised to steal, and as if stealing was right, it might have been ignorant to the law until they reach an age where they get caught the first time. You get caught the first time, let's say you're 3 like I was, or 6 like I was, and my mama walks me back into the store and says, give that man back that candy. And I give him back the candy, and I'm crying because I just know I'm going to jail for the rest of my life. You know, I learned I was not to steal. If I stole after that, and I did, if I stole after that, who's to blame? Leon is. The same thing goes for this. Everybody by this time has heard a lot about some things going on that were very biblical in nature. And this is this is almost a midway through the tribulation. And so by now, you've learned all the calamities that are going on. Seems very biblical. All these Christians, let's say 33 million Americans, almost 30% of the globe, up and disappears. By now, you've somehow come to some conclusion. Even a fool knows the way, is what my Bible says. So by now, you've come to some type of conclusion that either A, you're serving God, or B, you're not. And if you're not, my Bible says that there's just a few more opportunities for you to hear the gospel. So, let's assume everybody knows. And if you're one of the people that just have a really soft heart and you said there's no way, then I'll say this. By the end of this chapter, your mind's going to change. Good question. And they worshiped the dragon, which gave power unto the beast. And they worshiped the beast, saying, who is like unto the beast? Who is able to make war with him? Notice they're saying him. And there was given unto him a mouth speaking great things and blasphemies, and power was given unto him to continue 42 months. So there's a time limit right there. There's a time. And then, listen to this. And he opened his mouth in blasphemy against God, to blaspheme his name and his tabernacle and them that dwell in heaven. This is a conscious effort to blaspheme God. It's very specific in nature, the way that this beast, him, whoever him is, it's very specific how the Bible says that this cat is in alignment against God. If you pay attention to the characteristics of this, you realize that this individual is in fact Antichrist. What John said, and I agree wholeheartedly with every word of the Bible, but this right here I put a lot of emphasis on, that he says there are in the world even now antichrists. That the spirit of Antichrist is a perpetual thing. There will always be folks with this nature, this vanity nature that says, I put myself above God. When God said, thou shalt make no image, right? Don't serve an image. That image still is yourself. It could easily be the person in the mirror that becomes the graven image against God. And if we worship ourselves, we have another God before Him. You got me? So, this right here is an act of vanity. but it's also a supreme act of defiance because he wants to be worshiped instead of God. Antichrist doesn't just mean I'm against Christ. Antichrist, in all biblical definition, means also instead of Christ. So that he wants all of the glory. Why? His father, the devil, said those things. The book of Isaiah speaks about the devil and the devil's fall and says the exact words of the devil was to say, I will ascend and be like the Most High. It's always been the devil's case. It's always been his act. That's what he's always wanted to do, is be like the Most High. I deserve the praise, is what he's saying. And this Antichrist is exactly the same characteristic, only in human form. So, you're starting to see the form or the formation of an unholy Trinity. You have the Father, the Son, the Holy Ghost. Now you have the dragon, the devil, and you have Antichrist, who is Antichrist instead of Christ. Let's keep reading. And it was given unto him to make war with the saints. Listen to this. I want to read this twice, so let me do it the first time. And it was given unto him to make war with the saints and to overcome them. And power was given him over all kindreds and tongues and nations. I will read that once more. And I want you to understand that the folks who say that the church will be, instead of raptured, that the church will be preserved through the tribulation, listen to this. And it was given unto him to make war with the saints. That's the saints. That's saved folks. Saved folks. It doesn't say the church. It says saints. And to overcome them. I'm sorry. Maybe I didn't hear my own voice. But it seemed like the Bible says, and to overcome them. Everybody else see that too? Right. Yep. And power was given him. So this power was delivered to him, endowed to him, bequeathed to him over all kindreds and tongues and nations. The word nations in a lot of this New Testament is the Greek word ethnos, is where we get our word ethnicities. So all the tongues, all the countries, all the people in all the world are waiting for this Antichrist to approach. And if you didn't think he had enough power, just wait. There's more. This is a very powerful entity. Listen to this. And all that dwell upon the earth shall worship him, whose names are not written in the Lamb's book, or in the book of life of the Lamb slain from the foundation of the world. If any man have an ear, let him hear. Here's the deal about this time. Once this part of the tribulation starts, there's a rule, a set of rules. When the Bible says, if any man have an ear, let him hear, it means pay attention to what I'm fixing to say. It says in verse 10, he that leadeth into captivity shall go into captivity. This means you can't lead somebody to captivity without it coming back to you. He that killeth with the sword must be killed with the sword. Here is the patience and the faith of the saints. So, I just want to say, the last time we read church was in chapter 4. Y'all remember that? Right. We haven't read the word church since. The church isn't mentioned because the church isn't here. Right. Can you get saved through the tribulation? I answered that when I preached on the rapture. The answer is yes. That's how you get saints. But these are tribulation saints. These are not the church. The church ain't here. What becomes saints after the rapture is a total different hard grace, which means you can turn to God. You get one shot. And there's a few things you gotta not do after that. We're going to keep on going before I get lit. And I beheld another beast coming up out of the earth. Remember, the first beast came out of the sea. This one comes out of the earth. And he had 2 horns like a lamb, and he spake as a dragon, and he exerciseth all the power of the first beast before him, and causeth the earth and them which dwell therein to worship the first beast, whose deadly wound was healed. Here's the third part of the unholy trinity. This is the false prophet. So you have the beast, the man of perdition, the man of sin, the Antichrist. You have the dragon, who is the devil. And then you have this false prophet, which makes up the unholy trinity. This dude's whole purpose in life, this entity that he represents, whole purpose in life, is to cause everybody to worship the beast, thereby worshiping the dragon, the devil. And he doeth great wonders, so that he maketh fire come down from heaven on the earth in the sight of men, and deceiveth them that dwell on the earth by the means of those miracles which he had power to do in the sight of the beast, saying to them that dwell on the earth that they should make an image to the beast, which had the wound by a sword and did live. Now we see how the wound happened. Sword in Bible prophecy doesn't just have to be a sword. It's an attack, period. When we look at the false prophet, we see somebody who has some type of resourcefulness, that can do things that astonish normal people, who has an abnormal advantage over something that is controlling the elements. I know everybody in here's minds are racing, and they should. But I want you to, just like I've said in every chapter before now, if you overthink it and you miss the reasons, if you start thinking about the who instead of the what's going on, you can miss a lot of context. Yes, if indeed the rapture is to happen in our lifetime, these 3 cats are here. We know the devil's here. So that's 33% of this triad. The other 66.66% could very well be alive. So, he makes fire fall from heaven. Could be rockets, could be satellites, could be any number of things. There's all kinds of different abilities that man can do right now that would be an astonishment in the time of John when 90 AD when he was watching it. But it very well also could be the same type of power that those false prophets or evil priests did right there when Moses was there. When they threw down their staffs and turned them into snakes. When they caused other things to happen, water to blood and stuff like that. The leprosy. They were able to replicate or imitate, but not replicate the miracles of God. You see, imitation is the sincerest form of flattery, right? So when the enemy sees that God can do things, the enemy does what the enemy can to replicate it. See, Satan is a pitiful, we'll call it a pitiful replication or imitation of God. Pitiful. He can't do what God does. God's omnipresent. He can be anywhere, anytime. He's omniscient. He knows everything. He has all power. He can speak things into existence or speak them out of existence. God can heal your body, or He can just make your heart stop and bring you on home. And then He can bring you back to life God can do all of that. Satan has a pitiful imitation to all of that. This beast has this authority, but it's only authority given to him by Satan, who has authority over the world right now, but only to the limits that God allows him to have. This false prophet, even less than that. It's a pitiful, pitiful imitation. So, whatever the enemy does, whatever this false prophet can do, it's a cheap imitation of the real thing. Somebody say amen right there. And he had power to give, and so he says that they should make an image to the beast, which had the wound by a sword and did live. And then read verse 15. And he had power to give life unto the image of the beast, that the image of the beast should both speak and cause that as many as would not worship the image of the beast should be killed. Here is a very big part of what I said, when we were talking during the rapture sermon. This is a particular situation that could only happen in our lifetime. I mentioned about the cell phone. I reached in there for a cell phone. I didn't have one. And I'm not going to take Eric's. I'm going to fight against that. And I'm going to say, this is a cell phone, y'all. Cheap imitation of a cell phone. But I told you, Australia developed that app that was able to make it to where all three of the front or the back cameras would turn on, and the front camera would turn on, the LiDAR sensors would turn on, the flashlights turn on, the GPS activated, and whatever Wi-Fi connection, Bluetooth connections, or 5G or 9G or whatever activated, and it was able to see you and where you were in the entire world, wherever you were, and map the room three-dimensionally. This technology did not exist in 90 AD. It didn't exist in 1990. It just was created and existed somewhere around 2018, 2019. And it was shown to us during COVID. So if folks had been positive for COVID or come in contact with somebody with COVID in Australia, they had the app and their phone lit up. And when that phone lit up, you best be answering it, hold it up in front of your face to be positively identified, and then do whatever they tell you to do. And don't move, because they know where you're at. And you better charge your phone, because if it goes dead, they know where the last location was. So, this is, who in here has, what's that app that you and the boy have? Life 360. When someone's phone starts going dead and you have Life 360, it alerts you. Brum, 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 brum. It might as well just be saying, they're irresponsible. They're irresponsible. That's your child. That ain't mine. Leon's phone's 90%, unless he's recording for church. But, bump, bump, bump. Technology's there that it knows. Who knows what geofencing is? Geofencing is a three-dimensional fence, and it's in cyberspace, in a particular area, in GPS, and you can put one wherever you want to. Our daughter somehow, on my wife's phone, hers is set that every time she passes Broncos in Gaffney, my wife's phone goes off. Huh. Michaela's by Broncos. Mac, she's a stalker. She's got it every time my wife leaves the house. Where you going, Mama? Where you going? Bring me back something. I like ice cream too. How y'all at the ice cream shop? Oh, you went by Starbucks? Whatever. But you can set those geo-meshes, geo-fencing, to tell where people are. That technology's not from the 1990s. It's recently. So anything that can be used to your benefit can be used to not benefit you, for your control. So We love technology. I love technology. I got smart glasses. I've got a smartphone. I got my MacBook Pro for my podcast and stuff. And I love it. My iPad for my sermons. Man, I just love technology. But every single part of that might as well be an electronic leash. Because where Leon goes, Leon can be tracked. When I had that Apple Watch, and the Apple Watch went dead after Helene, I was like, I miss my old Army Timex, man. That thing never went dead. And all I had to do is shine that flashlight on it. You know what I'm talking about. And then at night, if I'm on patrol, turn it around like that. The enemy can't see it, but I can see it. I know what time it is. That way when I have to make that sworn statement after my event, whatever I got to do, my mission, then I know what time I did this. I know what time I raised my rifle for this. I know what time I raised my rifle for that. I know what time I raised my rifle for this. And then when I get back to base, rotate that watch right back around, and I'm just like everybody else. And that was that. You change the battery, what, once every 3 years, something like that? So, but that Apple Watch, you charge it at night. It knows what your heart rate is, knows what your blood pressure's doing, tells you you're in AFib. Oh, it's time to stand up. That Apple Watch says that too. I'll tell you what, you're going to lose weight, you get an Apple Watch. It's going to tell you, oh, you need to stand up. Might as well just be like, you're lazy. You are lazy. But it's an electronic leash. Like it or not. My point is the technology to control you is already here, and we buy it voluntarily. Voluntarily. This isn't a conspiracy theory. This is the truth. There's terrorists in Israel who said these smartphones are being tracked too much. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to go get pagers because those are less likely to be tracked. It just so happened that the IDF figured this out, and of course American intelligence figures this out. They already had a crate of pagers ready to be sold to these guys, and homeboys went and bought a crate of pagers that had a little bit of explosive put in there. They bought these things and went and do whatever terrorists do, and they were at the market, and some were hanging out over here, and some were over here in Finish Line, and some were over here sitting down drinking their little bitty cups of coffee and all this, and they felt very fancy until those pagers went off. And at the same time, every single one of them exploded. That's scary. What's your batteries made out of? Lithium doesn't explode, does it? I'm just saying, I'm not a conspiracy theorist. The conspiracy's already there. It's not a theory anymore. This is the technology. Never in the history of mankind have they been able to tell where every single human is. Your children play with phones. Your children have tablets. Your children go to school and get issued laptops where they are watched at any time. There was a CIA guy, I can't remember his name, or I'd give him credit because I believe in giving credit where credit is due. There was a CIA guy that not too long ago was a whistleblower on some things that went down, and some of which I agree should be going on, but I do agree that in some cases it was a little much. And I'm not going to go too deep into that. I'm just going to tell you there are people who are willing to do some horrendous things for the security and safety of the American people. You're welcome. But either way, here's the side of things people don't know. He notified the American people that your smart TVs, any of them, any smart TV, even if it's off, can be turned into a microphone that can hear everything. Your routers can become the same type of sensor as your LiDAR, and the ping on those routers can actually create a three-dimensional map of your house depending on the latency that the ping comes back. It can tell what your footprint of your house looks like. It can even, if it's a newer one, probably even with the older ones, they won't tell us all that. But even with the newer ones, you can, if the ping is strong enough, and what they can do is hit it with a certain frequency. It's like 65 hertz anyways, which is pretty fast, the oscillations. And when those things go through, they can actually make a map of where the people are. People. In your house. Without you knowing. And this is technology that exists right now. Right now. They can cut your laptops on, use the cameras. Everybody has always known that a microphone can be a speaker and a speaker can be a microphone, right? I mean, that's common knowledge. We were doing that to, my sister's toys. But either way, like you get the point. I'm just saying, you get the point. If you don't, you should now. I'm not telling you anything that isn't like common knowledge. And deceiveth them that dwell on the earth by the means of those miracles. Went on down. And causeth all, here's the other one, y'all. We read chapter 15, which was scary enough. Here's chapter 16, which I quoted in my sermon. And he causeth all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in, not on, in their right hand or in their foreheads, and that no man might buy or sell save he that had the mark or the name of the beast or the number of his name. So, in. That's a key word. There's other translations that say it different. If yours says something different than in, get you a Bible. We'll get you one. I'll be happy to. And I'm not making fun of anybody, I'm just saying. The Bible should read in their right hand or in their forehead. It's a particular speech. This is not something you can wipe off. This is not something that you can change. This is a mark that goes in your skin. It's similar to what is etched in someone, branded in someone, cut into someone, planted into someone. It's a particular situation. It's not something that you can just, we're going to stamp it like you're going into one of them parties y'all tried to get into and they said, no, you ain't old enough. In. Or in. Someone said, well, what if you didn't have a right hand? Everybody's got a forehead. Right. Or you're dead. Right. You lose your forehead, I don't know what to tell you. I don't know anybody walking around without a forehead. In their right hand or in their forehead. So, you can be positively identified. They can identify whether or not you have said mark in your right hand or in your forehead. How many have heard about a quantum dot? Quantum dot. It is a small tattoo. You wouldn't even see it in some cases with the naked eye. This tattoo could be a QR code. It could have your entire 201 file if you're prior service. It could have whatever they want in it. There's a quantum dot that was printed that had the entire King James Bible on it. Imagine that. And it's just big enough to be like a dot from a pen at that big. The whole King James Bible in a pen. How many of you don't even raise your hand? Heard of the party dot? The old tattoo where they just gave you one small. I don't have one, but this is smaller than the party dot. So, in your right hand or in your forehead. This quantum dot, imagine this. I'm just saying. With AI technology, especially like what they're using in China right now, they use geomeshing. We're just going to match up all this technology we mentioned. All the camera systems, CCTVs, all those kinds of things, all at the same time, just like this camera right there. It's a smart AI camera, but it hasn't tried to kill me yet. But there's these cameras all over China, and what they do is they facial recognize everybody in the country as they're going through doing what people do, airport, the train station. They do a lot of train stations. Over here at the soup store, over here at whatever, whatever they're doing, school. They read your faces. And I mean, it's just bam, bam, bam. They just know who you are. And they read it. And they process what's called a social credit score. Social credit score. Remember that word, that term. Social credit score. As it processes your social credit score, this thing sends that social credit score and who you are and your location to their mainframe. AI processes that and says, you're not allowed to go any further than XYZ, and you're not allowed to spend money at XYZ. In fact, since you came here, your social credit score is going down further, and you're not even allowed to ride on this train. And they're declined, and they're made to go back home. They go into the next train that's headed that way. It says, approved. They're able to go back home. If you want to raise your social credit score, you do posts that are pro-government on the web or on social medias. They do have government-controlled social medias, and they have TikTok. They created TikTok, not us. We're taking the American TikTok over, but China invented it. That's their thing. And so if you do posts that are pro-government, Xi Jinping and all them, pro-government on your social media, and you don't speak out or anything else, you spend money on stuff that's really cool, like healthy stuff, like tofu or whatever else, and you don't eat red meat, and you don't do this, and you don't have more than one kid, or you do have kids, but you move to this area so that you can raise your child where the government wants you to, and you get a job that is paying a lot of taxes, and maybe you even pay more taxes because you're such a good citizen, and your social credit score raises. Guess what? Now you can go visit Uncle whatever his name is in wherever. Now you're able to ride that train. That's a social credit score. It's also digital blockchain technology, digital currency. It's programmable. Your digital currency cuts off right here. So you're not allowed to have it. Your digital currency, because you're a good citizen, you're free to go as far as you want to because you're a good social citizen. That's the technology that already exists, y'all. That's not something Leon made up. That's technology that's already here. Causes all, rich or poor, free or bond, to receive a mark in their right hand or in their forehead. And no man could buy or sell save he who has the mark or the name of the beast or the number of his name. If you don't have it, you don't get to play. You don't get to eat. You don't get to earn a living. You don't get to do whatever. Let me tell you something sad. There's a mama and there's a daddy. Didn't make it into rapture. They got children. They love their children just like you love yours, just like you love your family. They know about the mark. They know it's coming. And they say, we're gonna fight it. We're not going to get it. Somehow, some way, everybody gets hungry. The food runs out. The pantry runs dry. The animals are already all attacking everybody. Nobody wants to hunt. Nobody even knows where they can go. People have already hid in the mountains and the rocks and the caves and cried until the mountains and the rocks and the caves fall on us and hide us from the wrath of the Lamb. And he that sitteth on the throne, somewhere, some way, they've escaped. They threw away all their technology. They're out here. Daddy's relying on his old police law enforcement training, and he's got his Mossberg, and he's got his side piece, and he's got his kids and his wife following around him, and they're just going place to place, just trying to make it work. And somehow, some way, Dad gets hurt. Old football injury or something. And they're hiding out in this warehouse, trying to hide from the drones, because the drones have facial recognition technology, and they're all over the place, and they're able to, they've even got those dog drones that have those, its cameras way better than that, 2 or 3 of them on their heads, one on their chest, and one behind them, so they got 360-degree views, and they're going around scanning people, and they've got about 6 hours worth of battery time, and by the time this one's on its way back from mission, the other one's coming and scanning that sector. Plus you got your phantom drones, you got satellite technology. I had a thing, and I'm probably going to get in trouble if I mention it, but I'm going to mention it because I'm just a loose cannon right now. But there was a thing called the Night Stalker that we got to use. And this thing was essentially a satellite camera package that went on a boom that could go 30 feet up in the air. And it was on the back of a Humvee, and we would drive wherever we wanted to drive, and whatever our mission said, raise up the boom, and we could zoom in several miles out and read your newspaper. You put AI to that, facial recognition technology, social credit score, and you link it to the internet, and guess what? It's smarter than you are and knows you're there. And it doesn't even glare when you point it in where the sun is. This technology had already existed. It was 2004 when we used it. So think about what they got now. I mean, this is all technology that is here. It wasn't here 20 years ago or 30 years ago. It wasn't here 30 years ago. It's here now. No man could buy nor sell. How did they do that? With a click of a mouse? Or with AI? You don't get to sell. You don't get to buy. Right. Better get good at making rocking chairs, and you better find people that want rocking chairs, and they better buy you some food. And guess what? If the system picks up that they're buying too much food for their household, you're hit anyways. Dad's lame. He's laying over here, leaned up against something. Mama says, I'm going to try to find us something, y'all. Stay quiet. Watch out for your dad. She grabs that pistol, puts it in her pocket, walks, and there's that robot dog. It's existing technology right now. She knows she's spotted. It walks up to her. They have a thing where their head can boom up to almost this level. And she knows she's dead to rights. And then here comes a drone. And then here comes a person. Ma'am, I need to see your hands. Turn your hands around, please. Come to me. She walks closer. Turn around. Put your hands behind your head. On your knees. Right foot over your left foot. Do it now. Sit down. Don't move. Do you have identification? Yes, sir, it's in my back pocket. He finds the gun. Who are you here with, ma'am? I'm not here with anybody. Who are you here with, ma'am? I'm not here with anybody. Why don't you have a mark? I don't want a mark. Why don't you have a mark? I don't want a mark. You're coming with me. He zip cuffs her, puts a black bag over her head, stands her up, takes her to their vehicle. She could hear people screaming from the inside already. She's not the only one. It's a crazy scenario when you think about it on our level. But honey, we do that to people in other countries right now. Right now. It seems unrealistic until you think that there are folks getting bagged and tagged right now in other countries. The same technology that we're talking about right now, we're doing that to people in other countries. What makes you think that ain't this? Here, we are not exempt from the truth. The truth is coming. The truth is down the line. If you had a chance to tell somebody this conversation, I'm going to read this last verse and then I'm going to what I've just, to finish that thought. Here's wisdom. This is wisdom. Let him that hath understanding count the number of the beast, for it is the number of a man, and his number is 666. 300 or 600, 60, 20, 20, 20, or 60, 20, 20, 20, or 60, and 6. Now, in the Old Greek, it reads 666. 666, I believe, is exactly the number. But if you think about it, the key is it's the number of a man. It's a particular image. It's a particular name. The name of the beast, his number, or the image. One of the three has to be on you, and that's that. It could be a QR code that is a quantum dot, could be a microchip, could be whatever. But pay no attention to all of the this, that, and the other things. Not the man behind the curtain. Calm down. I know how your mind works. We pay attention to a lot of the crazy things that get in our mind, and our minds go wild. But I want your mind to go one place, one direction. Someone you know is going to go through that. Someone you know is going to go through this time. Are they going to be the mama that gets bagged and tagged? Are they going to be the father that gets bagged and tagged? How long are they going to be able to get away? If they live this far and get away, how long are they going to be able to go? Because we're fixing to read some even crazier, dire things that are about to take place in this time. The technology is here. There's never been a time that aligns up more than right now. Never. The technology is here. I explained it. We're doing it already in other countries. It's already happened. It's evident. There's never been a time that this has been possible. There's never been a time where you could control who bought or sold. Ever in the history of everdom. It's never happened. We're here now. Don't smile at me. She's like, everdom. They did it too. It wasn't just you, honey. But it's now. We're there. If we're that close to the middle of the tribulation, when's the rapture?
Come on.
In October 31st, I wanted to decorate for Christmas. I wanted to decorate for Christmas. I knew Christmas was approaching. She said, we ain't even been to Thanksgiving yet. I'm thinking about Revelation 13. The rapture's Thanksgiving. That's how close we are. We're already living in the conditions for the middle of the tribulation. I had a conversation with one of my friends, old army buddy. Went something like this. Promise me, if you decide you want to keep going down the road that you're going and you don't want to accept or believe in Jesus Christ, promise me one thing. There's going to become a time, and it's not that far off, where they're going to approach you, they being anybody in an authoritative position, is going to approach you, and they're going to say, if you want to be a part of the system or die, you've got this choice. Get a mark, whatever that mark is, in your right hand or in your forehead, or we're going to kill you. No matter what, brother, no matter what, don't take the mark. Don't take the mark. Someone you love needs to hear those 3 words, or the 4 words. Don't take the mark.
Right.
Whatever the cost, don't take the mark. That's what we have to pass on. There's only one way to heaven, y'all. Being a good person ain't going to do it for you. Sorry. That ship has sailed. Salvation's not something you can earn.
You're right.
Old Testament, they had to sacrifice, they had to do this, they had to go once a year and meet the priest and bring them stuff. Even Jesus' parents, when he was born, brought the turtle doves and things at the temple and did the sacrifice. And when the 8 days had come, he was able to be given a name and all that. Here now, we don't have to sacrifice anything but our vanity. Just choose Jesus. I choose Jesus. That's an easy grace. The simplest thing I could ever do is put my faith in the truth. The hardest thing, it takes more faith not to believe in Jesus. It takes more faith not to believe in God. Because we know in our hearts it's true. It takes a whole lot of faith to fight against the truth. If I told you there's a steeple on this church, everybody in here knows it's true. It would take a whole lot of faith to convince yourself it's not. Your friends, the human condition knows something's missing. We know that. Only the Christian, only the people that believe in Almighty God know for a fact God exists. That's what's missing. But only a believer says, Lord, I yield. I believe. I know you're it. Help me to be better at showing it. Help me. 4 words. Remember for the rest of this week, for the rest of your lives. Share it to everybody. There's coming a time when you've got a choice. You either believe or you take the mark. Don't take the mark. Stand with me.